Hey everyone, if you're watching this video right now, you're probably like millions of other Americans refreshing your bank account every single day wondering, where is my $2,000 check? And I get it, I've been there. I remember back in 2020, waiting for that first stimulus check, trying to figure out how I was going to keep the lights on for one more month. Well, today we're talking about something that has everyone talking. And honestly, everyone confused. President Trump just revealed a brand new timeline for those $2,000 checks funded by tariff income, and let me tell you, millions of people are absolutely shocked by what he said. But here's the thing. The timeline keeps changing. First, it was early 2026, then mid-2026, and now, well, stick with me, because I'm about to break down everything you need to know. I'm here to cut through all the noise and give you the real details. Who qualifies, when you might actually see this money, and whether this is even going to happen at all. Because when it comes to government payments, the truth is always more complicated than the headlines. If you're making $100,000 or less, and this $2,000 would make a real difference in your life, paying rent, buying groceries, catching up on bills, then this video is for you. And hey, if this information helps you, hit that subscribe button, because I break down videos like this every single week to help everyday people like us. All right, so here's what's happening. And this is where millions of people are getting shocked and confused. President Trump just provided a new timeline for these proposed $2,000 dividend checks that would be funded by tariff income. And get this, he's now saying these checks could be available toward the end of 2026. Wait, what? The end of the year? Let me explain why this is so shocking. Last year, around Halloween, President Trump said these checks could go out in 2026. Then, his White House economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, appeared and said it could happen in the first 3 months of 2026, meaning right after New Year's, maybe around Valentine's Day, or during March. We're already past that timeline. We're sitting here in January 2026, and now Trump is saying end of the year. And here's what's even more confusing. Just a couple months ago, he said these checks would go out in the middle of 2026. So which is it? Early 2026? Mid-2026? End of 2026? This is the biggest problem right now. Everyone is asking why the timeline keeps changing. And experts are saying one word: midterm elections. Here's what analysts and experts are saying, and I think they're onto something. President Trump wants to regain trust with millions of Americans, and he knows that $2,000 checks would do exactly that. If you remember, during the pandemic, when President Trump sent out those stimulus checks, he actually put his own name on them. People could literally see President Donald J. Trump on those checks, and it worked. His popularity with low and middle-income Americans went up significantly. People remembered who sent them that money when they desperately needed it. It looks like he might be planning the same strategy for the midterm elections. Sending out $2,000 checks right before voters head to the polls? That's not a coincidence. That's strategic. But here's the reality check we need to talk about. This is where things get really messy. And I want to be completely honest with you about what's happening behind the scenes. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett previously said that congressional approval would be necessary for these checks. That means the House and Senate would have to pass a bill, and then it would go to President Trump's desk for final approval. But recently, President Trump said something different. In an interview with the New York Times, he said he doesn't need congressional approval, that he can do it on his own with an executive order. He said, "We have it coming from other sources." But he didn't specify what those sources were. Now here's where it gets complicated. Some analysts and experts say yes, he could potentially do this with executive orders. But other experts are saying that's not realistic. It would take a series of executive orders that would overturn multiple congressional decisions, and that's just not legally possible. And here's the kicker. According to Kevin Hassett, there's not even a proposal in Congress about these checks yet. So even if congressional approval is needed, nothing has been formally introduced. No proposal in the House, no proposal in the Senate, nothing. Let me give you the details we do know about who would get these checks if they actually happen. According to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, anyone who makes $100,000 or less would receive these $2,000 checks. That includes single filers making under $100,000 and married couples filing jointly who make under that threshold. We don't have specific details yet on whether there would be additional money for dependent children, but based on previous stimulus payments, that's likely. Who does this help? working moms and dads, who are barely scraping by even with full-time jobs, veterans living on fixed incomes who are struggling with inflation, people on disability like SSI or SSDI, and this is important, you would likely qualify even if you don't normally file taxes. Unemployed workers desperately searching for jobs. Seniors on Social Security who are watching grocery prices go up every single month. If you're in any of these groups and make $100,000 or less, you would potentially be eligible. Here's something that might surprise you. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Reuters that the U.S. Treasury reportedly has $774 billion available right now. That's billion with a B. According to Bessent, this money could cover the proposed refunds depending on the income limits. President Trump has been very vocal, telling the New York Times that tariffs have made us a fortune and that the funds are so substantial that these payments are possible. So the money might actually be there. The question isn't whether they can afford it, it's whether they're actually going to do it. Now, let me give you both sides of the story because this is important. The good news is that not just President Trump and Republicans support this idea. Even Democrats are on board with $2,000 checks going to low and middle-income Americans. But here's where they disagree on the why. Democrats are saying these checks should go out because we're in an affordability crisis. Families can't afford rent, groceries, gas, childcare. People are hurting, and they need relief. Republicans and President Trump are framing it differently. They're saying this is about giving Americans a piece of the tariff income, basically a dividend from the reciprocal tariffs Trump has placed on countries around the world. They want Americans to benefit directly from these tariff policies. Same check, different reasoning. Does it matter why they're sending it? If the money shows up in your account? Maybe not. But the why could affect whether it actually happens. I know this is frustrating. I know you're tired of hearing maybe and possibly and we'll see. But here's what you can do today to prepare. Step 1. Make sure your information is current with the IRS. If you've moved, changed bank accounts, or had any life changes since you last filed taxes, file a 2025 return even if you don't normally file. This is crucial. Step 2. Set up direct deposit with the IRS if you haven't already. When payments come, whether it's this, tax refunds, or anything else, direct deposit is always faster than paper checks. Step 3. Don't wait around hoping for this money. Check benefits.gov right now and see what assistance programs you might already qualify for. SNAP benefits, utility assistance, rental help. These programs exist and can help you today. Step 4. Stay informed, but don't drive yourself crazy. The timeline has already changed multiple times, and it might change again. I'll keep you updated as soon as there's real news. Here's what I really think, and I want to be completely transparent with you. Do I think these checks will actually happen in 2026? Maybe. The money seems to be there. There's bipartisan support for helping struggling families. But the fact that the timeline keeps changing, that there's no formal proposal in Congress, and that we're getting conflicting information about whether congressional approval is even needed, that makes me skeptical about the when. Would these checks make a difference in people's lives? Absolutely. For millions of Americans, $2,000 could mean keeping the lights on for another few months, feeding their kids, or finally catching up on rent. The question isn't whether people need the money. The question is whether Washington will actually follow through. Look, I know you're tired of waiting. I know you're tired of politicians making promises and then the timeline shifting. I know you're tired of feeling like nobody understands what you're going through. But here's what I want you to remember. Whether this check comes or not, you have options. You have resources. And you have this community that's got your back. So here's what I need from you. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss updates on this. Turn on notifications, because when there's real news, I'll let you know immediately. And drop a comment below answering this question. Do you really believe President Trump will send these checks in 2026? Would this $2,000 make a difference in your life? What would you use it for? Groceries, rent, bills, debt? I read every single comment, and your stories matter. If you support these $2,000 checks, write in the comments, I support $2,000 checks, because our voices matter. If enough people speak up, Washington has to listen. I've got videos linked below on emergency assistance programs you can access right now, how to apply for SNAP benefits, and other relief options that don't require waiting for Congress. Thanks for watching, and remember, we're in this together. Keep pushing forward. I'll see you in the next video.